Hello! Today I want to talk to you about love, specifically the art of love, and how I think that we should redefine it. So let's get started. This is something that I don't think I can cover in one video, so I think that this is going to be a series. A lot is going to be covered today, but I have a lot to say on this matter because it's been my obsession for a very long time now, so yeah. A book I'm gonna reference a lot throughout this is All About Love by Bell Hooks. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it. It will help redefine the way that you view love. And yes, so I will be referencing this a lot throughout this whole video, as well as some other resources that have been really helpful for me on this journey of rediscovering what love means to me and how I want to define it. So let's get started. In modern culture, we are constantly bombarded with the idea of what love should be and what that looks like. And it mostly centers around romance, which we know, but it also centers around family sometimes. So I introduced the concept of family love, and I think that most people were probably taken back by that because in our culture, family love is seen as so wholesome, as the people that will always be there for us, as our blood. And I think that that's true for a lot of people, but I also think that that's untrue for a lot of people. And so I kind of want to dive into that because what is seen as maybe the most wholesome foundational love isn't actually always the truest form of it. Family is a beautiful thing, and family is forever, but it doesn't have to be. And I think that that is a really new and kind of controversial take because it is so injected into our society that family comes first, and that's something we see all the time. But I think that disregards people who grew up in an abusive environment in their childhood. Sometimes disconnecting from the people that hurt you is the best thing that you can do for yourself, and they're not providing that stability and love that is supposed to come with the pure love of family. Bell Hooks argues in her book that love cannot exist within abuse. If abuse is happening, then there is no love. And you may think that that seems like a very black and white take, and I thought so too. But let's put it in context. There is a difference between being loved and being cared for. And throughout this video, I think that's going to become more and more clear. The actual act of loving is not something that we inherently know how to do, because not only is it a feeling, but it's an action. And when abuse is happening or things of that manner, then love does not exist within that space, so that doesn't mean care doesn't. So care can look like, still providing financially for your family, or showing up to events, or picking your child up from school, meeting basic Maslow hierarchy of needs, and making sure that your child is provided for, is fed, etc. But that doesn't mean that love necessarily exists within that environment. And I think that that is a really interesting take on that concept, and it makes people feel very triggered and lost because it makes them reassess maybe what their childhood looked like, and if they have that stability of love that they thought they did. So if that's not a subject that feels comfortable for you, or you're willing to process, then that's okay, because it's a little triggering for sure, trying to redefine care versus love. I think as children, we're also taught that love is only about getting your needs met, not about what you can give, but what is given to you. Which I think we can see reflected in the way that we choose to go about love as we grow up, constantly defining love by the amount of contentment or fulfillment another person gives us, rather than the amount of joy and contentment it brings us to give it to others. Of course, care is so beautiful, and care is necessary for feeling loved, but I don't think that that necessarily is what love is. Okay, let's talk about romantic love. Romantic love is so often skewed to be something far more toxic than what it should be. And I don't even mean that in the sense of the normal toxicity that we see on the internet of people cheating or obsessive relationships, codependency, anxious attachment style. The list could go on of unhealthy relationship tactics. But I mean toxic in the sense of the way that we define what a relationship, a romantic relationship, looks like when it's going well. And what I mean by that is the obsession, the butterflies, the up and down of the whole cycle of it all, of will they text me back? I need to wait this long to do it. Like, no. Butterflies are not actually an indicator of someone being a good fit for you. It just means that they dysregulate your nervous system a little bit, which isn't necessarily a good thing. You probably want a partner who makes you feel really safe and cared for, and sometimes that slow burn is the kind of person that's gonna provide that for you rather than the excitement of the butterflies of having to prove yourself in some way. So it seems that maybe this video is just me challenging your beliefs on how you define love, because there are two terms I'm going to introduce that are similar to the care concept of the family portion, and the first one is cathexis and the second one is limerence, and being able to understand the difference between cathexis, limerence, and then love is really important and interesting. So cathexis was first a concept introduced by Sigmund Freud, which basically means you have an attachment to a person. It refers to the process of investing emotional energy into a person, idea, or object. It means directing one's emotional and psychological energy towards something or someone. And you can cathect to your partner, family members, people in your life, meaning that you invest a significant amount of emotional energy and attachment into the relationship. Feeling connected and attached to somebody is not love, it's cathexis. And it's beautiful. I think cathexis is an integral part to our existence as humans, but it's not love. So I'm just continuously disproving what love is not, and then I'm going to define what I think love is. So, cathexis, important, but not love. It's just the attachment to somebody. Here's a quote. We all know how often individuals feeling connected to someone through the process of cathecting insist that they love the other person even if they are hurting or neglecting them. Again, abuse and love cannot coexist. Cathexis can, and so feeling connected to somebody but still being able to treat them poorly is possible, but again, abuse cannot exist within the context of love. Bell hooks, everybody. Okay, so let's get into limerence. What is limerence? Limerence is an intense infatuation with somebody. It's not being able to stop thinking about them, wanting to see them all the time, waiting for them to text you back. It involves emotional dependence and revolves around the individual feeling reciprocation of this person's feelings and idealization of the person, who they are. So putting them on a pedestal. You can get butterflies in the stomach, increased heart rate, nervousness. You don't want to be rejected from them. It's basically just what modern romance has coined as love. Limerence and love are not the same. Feeling obsessive about a person, wanting to spend all of your time with them is not love, it's limerence. And again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with limerence. I know it can feel really good, but it's not love. So, and I think that limerence can be unhealthy if you don't recognize it and recognize the patterns. So often in modern life, we define success by finding our person, by marrying, by settling down, by having children. That is a form of measuring success. But your contentment should not be derived off of another person and their attention. And I think that it is really important to find partners that can love you and can show you how to love. I full-heartedly love romance, but I also try to be realistic with romance and try to understand the way that society has conditioned me to view it and how maybe it's not the healthiest way to go about life. Because we're told that this is an ideal of success and of happiness, we're constantly searching for a partner or someone who can fulfill those needs and even fulfill the validation of proving to ourselves that we are lovable. What would happen if we stopped searching all of the time? What would that feel like? And actually, this is touched upon in Conversations on Love by Natasha Lunn. Oh my god, I got that right. This is actually touched upon in Conversations on Love by Natasha Lunn. And she talks about the freedom that is experienced when you stop searching all of the time, when you don't go out to get a drink and scan the crowd for someone who can give you validation, when you just actually start living in the present moment and doing things the way that you want to do them. And I could make a whole video about this, especially as a woman who grew up in a patriarchal society where we are constantly focused on the male gaze and trying to decenter that from my reality. Anyway, so what would happen if we stopped searching? How would our life and fulfillment increase if we decided to just breathe and allow life to happen to us rather than feeling as if we're missing out on something? I also think that most romantic love is very conditional. It's about what the other person can receive from you, those good feelings, that dopamine, and it's an exchange, versus actual love has nothing to do with an exchange. But it's not conditional, it's unconditional, which I actually have a different feeling on that. I think unconditional love as an ambiguous premise is really beautiful, but unconditional love to people can be problematic because sometimes you have to choose not to unconditionally love somebody because it's better for you not to. And I think unconditional acceptance is actually what we should search for. Anyway, I'm just saying that most romantic love is based off of an exchange, and it shouldn't be conditional or based off what you can give your partner or what your partner can give you. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah. So now that we've gone over some of the more popular ideas of what love is and how maybe those aren't actually love, what is love? Am I gonna tell you, or are we just gonna sit here? Let's just sit here. I'm just kidding. Okay, so I'm gonna share with you two different definitions. The first one is my own definition, and the second one is the one that Bell Hooks brings up in her book by Scott Peck. It took me a long time to try and put into words what I think love is in my own definition, because the internet just does not do it justice. Actually, let me read to you the definition. Let me read to you the definition of love. Define love. Love is an intense feeling of deep affection. We already talked about how that could be limerence. Feel a deep romantic or sexual attachment to someone. Do you see how that just does not do it justice? That is not what love is. We already talked about how that could be cathexis or limerence, and it's not actually what love is. So what is love? Am I ever gonna fucking tell you? Like, seriously? Fine, I'll tell you. The way that I chose to define love after thinking about it for a very long time is this sentence. The multidimensional embodiment of compassion and connection radiating both inwards and outwards on all planes of existence. Okay, like, I know that sounds cheesy, I know, but listen, it is a multidimensional embodiment. It is about compassion and connection. It should radiate inward into yourself and your inner world, as well as outward to the outside world, and it should be on all planes of existence, meaning it's not just a 3D experience, it's an energy that we can emit towards the world. And you're like, what the fuck do you mean, bro? Like, what does that even mean, dog? Like, seriously, like, what the heck are you talking about? Let me tell you, we're gonna get there. I know that sounds fucking cheesy, okay, but stay with me. Chill out, okay? I have to do the second definition next, but okay, we will get there. Okay, Scott Peck defines it as the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. Stunning. Some folks have difficulty with Peck's definition of love because he does use the word spiritual. What he is referring to is the dimension of our core reality where mind, body, and spirit are one. An individual does not need to be a believer in a religion to embrace the idea that there is an animating principle in the self, as in a life force within oneself, as in a soul. And when that is nurtured, it enhances our capacity to be more fully self-actualized and able to engage in communion with the world around us. Okay, of course Bell Hooks puts that so fucking beautifully, and my little sentence definition isn't gonna encompass all of what she just said there, but there we go. Okay, so that's a lot of words, obviously. So let's break it down. Let's go over what we've learned so far. Let me try and put this into words. 1, there is a difference between being cared for and being loved. 2, there is a difference between limerence and love and cathexis and love. 3, the way that we view and do romantic love isn't always the most enlightened way to do it. That's what we got so far, okay folks? Alright, so and then we have our 2 definitions going on of what love is. Right there. Okay. So how do you go redefining love in your everyday practice? Because I've kind of given you a lot of ways that it doesn't exist, that maybe it felt like it did. The first way that really helped me realize that love comes in so many different forms is platonic relationships. I think part of why romantic love feels so good for us is because we get to express all the love that we have inside of ourselves, and it feels good to love. It feels good to care for somebody. And we reserve that for our romantic partners, but we don't have to. No one is making us do that. And so when I started loving and caring for my friends in the same way that I loved and cared for my romantic partners, my idea of love and my fulfillment in my cup of love was so full, and doing all of the love languages for them. Like, obviously I'm not like having intense physical intimacy with my friends. That's not something I want with them. Making sure I make time for them, doing acts of service, words of affirmation, gift giving, just dating my friends. Like, I date my friends, and that's something that's really important to me and makes me feel so fulfilled and grateful. Another thing that really helped me tune into the frequency of love is being very intentional about looking for it in my daily life, in everything that I do. I think we all know the concept of people watching. I would specifically go somewhere and sit and watch. Every time it was so beautiful to see the countless acts of love that I witnessed before me. For example, today I went for a little walk around my neighborhood, and in just those like 20 minutes I saw, and I counted, 17 acts of like profound, true, deep love, and I was like, wow, love exists literally everywhere around us, and because we define it in this certain way, we are so blind to its existence just in our encompassing field. Here, some of the examples that I came across was there was this little senior dog, and his owners had put little booties on him so his feet didn't burn, and he was so kind with just making sure the dog got to take his time, and he even like was like, are you ready to cross the road, bud? Are you ready? Like, are you feeling up for it, or do you want to sit here for a little longer? And I was like, that is so beautiful. Another one was a kid moving a worm into the grass because it was drying up in the sun. Another one was this cat who just came over to say hi, and I think that's a form of love in itself. And I guess something that is obvious to me while I'm talking about this is, for example, that senior dog, how is that not being cared for versus loving? And obviously I don't know. I don't know what that dog's life looks like past the little incident I experienced, but I think that he is being cared for, but he's also being loved, because the taking him on the walk and making sure he gets his needs met is being cared for, but making sure that he feels comfortable and safe, and like asking, are you ready to cross the street, or do you want to hang out here for a little longer? That's the difference. Like, taking him on a walk is something that you need to do to care for this dog, but making sure he feels safe and comfortable is where the love resides, right? And also, that little kid didn't have to move that worm. It wouldn't impact their life at all if they didn't, and they get no reward for moving the worm, but they still chose to move the worm. That's something I live by as well. I will never kill a spider or a cockroach. I know that might be weird to some people, but they didn't choose to exist in that body, and they don't understand that they're in my space. In fact, I'm in theirs. What's that poem that went viral about a crime for being small or whatever? Like, they didn't get to choose the body that they inhabit, and they have no idea of their wrongdoing. Love is not particular with who or what it is given to. Being compassionate towards all beings, that includes extended outside of humans, into the natural world and into creatures, animals, insects. And that means, oh, dragonfly, hi. Speaking of, hello. You are beautiful. I don't know if you saw that on camera. Being compassionate to all beings, and that includes the natural world and the way we treat her. You may be wondering, okay, like, I'm a conscious hiker, I don't litter, I, don't etch my name into a tree's bark with my initials, like, I treat nature well, but it extends farther than that. Because of how integrated humans have become and dependent we've become on the natural resources in our worlds, the way that we spend our money is a direct impact on the way that we love our natural world. And I think that's a really interesting topic to try and communicate. But the way that you spend your money is an act of love, which dives nicely into my next point, which is that love is a daily practice. It's an art form. Every act you take is and could be an act of love. Love is a practice. Love is an art, and it's cultivated. Oh, kitty, kitty, she's so pretty, pretty, yeah. She's so pretty. Look, she's looking at me with that little face. Hello, little face. You say hello. Oh, thank you. Yes, say hello to everybody. Oh, hello, she says. Yes, ma'am. Exactly. Exactly my thoughts. Fall in love with you. I never loved someone the way that I love you. Do you want to hang out? Hey, what's on the menu? Biscuits? Biscuits are on the menu? Miss Cleo is the star of the show, and she's drooling a little bit. Are you drooling? Come here. Come here. Ew. Ew. That was a lot of drool. Thank you, ma'am. Is that better? Yes. Okay. Something that also really was life-changing for me was Michael Singer's Untethered Soul, where he talks about... Ouch, that's my nipple. That's my nipple. Where he talks about this pipeline to the feeling of love and how we can energetically shift our heart to open or close. And that is such a profound change in my life when I started to really realize that I had this energetic close going on. I think that that's a video that I'd be interested in doing, of just how to open that up and what that feels like and the overall concept of it, because I think that it's so important, and just being able to reconnect to like this lifeline of what love feels like. I don't know how to describe it. It feels like this intense rush of golden energy that just like flows through my whole body when I make that energetic shift and feel like this pipeline of love coming from the universe. I know that sounds weird, okay? Like, I am a scientist. I know that that sounds weird, but just trust me. Maybe if I make a video about it, give it a go, and like let me know if you feel what I'm feeling, or if it's a placebo. Even if it's a placebo, it still connects me to love, we could argue, so it still works. And then I just feel just so effervescent and just like light and giddy and ready to just give everyone compassion and love more than I did beforehand when I kind of closed myself off. And so connecting to that source of love is super important. The last thing I want to talk about is shedding your armor, which as I said, this video is not something that I think I can cover everything in the way that I would like. I had such prickly armor when it came to letting and allowing love in. I had insane defensive mechanisms. I felt very hardened and like, I don't know how to describe it, but I felt spiky, like. And when I finally consciously chose to shed it and to allow myself to be soft, shedding that armor made me so much stronger. Because the reason you have that armor is because you're scared of getting hurt, but getting hurt is a beautiful experience. And getting hurt is proof that you've loved, and getting hurt is loving in itself, because you wouldn't be feeling that pain if you didn't feel the love to accompany it. So anyways, all that to be said, shedding the armor is like really important to just learning how to love. And that's how I want to end the video, is You understand maybe now that sometimes love isn't what we always think of it as, but it is this beautiful, enlightening experience that we can cultivate and learn how to do better. And it takes practice. And again, like, I could make so many videos on this because it is an art, and I feel like I'm constantly learning how to love better, as we all are. But like having these definitions and this understanding of what it's not versus how I define it and how I would like to move forward in the world with it is something that's really important to me. And so if you want to learn how to shed that armor and to be soft and loving and to feel and to engage with that compassion and connection, both inwards and outwards in your life, then maybe start with the things that I talked about, with really feeding those platonic friendships, with looking for love in all the things you do, and seeing compassion and connection with all beings on this earth, and to understand that every action is fueled with love if you choose for it to be.